Hi, hello there. Aphrissa came out in the CN server and I wanted to make a video about her, but at the same time I don't really have the time to go and stream and make a stream segment and then cut it up into a VOD to upload, so I'm cutting out the middleman and just recording something really quickly for you guys to tell you what I think about Aphrissa. I'll probably indicate this type of video differently, because if you didn't notice, in the thumbnails I indicate what kind of video it is. If you see a yellow tick, it means it's this kind of a quick rant. If you see a red tick, it's a live stream highlight, and if there's no tick, it means it's a normal edited video. So to bring up the main point with Aphrissa immediately, there is a lot of people that say she is yet another operator that ignores her archetype gimmick, following in the fucking family line of operators like Ray, but I really don't see that argument. If you don't know, Aprissa's gimmick is that she can bend her range like this. She has a laser which bounces off of operators, she has a little refractor summon which can change her range, and people say this ignores the archetype gimmick of blast casters, but I don't really get that argument, because you can only ever have this gimmick on a blast caster. This only makes sense when you give it to a blast caster. The way people speak about Aphrissa, you'd think they gave her flinger range, but no, it's just this. Given to all 5-star players and Niche Knights players worldwide, anytime a new creative 6-star comes out, it's like 9/11, but that's beside the point. Okay, but how actually good is it in practice? Sure, cool gimmick, but does it measure up to everyone around her? First off, I want to tell you that this is an actual range extension. It's not just bouncing her projectile. We can see it here, in this picture for example. The refractor here actually changes her range, and this counts as Aprissa's range, and it interacts with range gimmicks. For example, Closure can make use of the Extendodong range like that. When it comes to skill 2 itself, it's a very decent damage skill with very good SP cycles. As you can see, it has an SP cost of 18 and a duration of 8 seconds. That's just an uptime of 30%, which is rather middling. It's very normal for operators to have an uptime of around 30%, but it has incredibly quick skill cycles. There is a difference there. For example, Rosa Skill 2, it has an uptime of 48%, which is really good, but incredibly slow skill cycles, meaning there's a long period Rosa Skill 2 is gonna be in downtime. This skill doesn't really have that issue. And as you can tell, you can get quite wild and wacky with it. It bounces off an unlimited amount of operators, and it has unlimited range. So, for example, Reclamation Algorithm, especially, you can get really stupid with it just due to how wide and open the maps are. Next up, we have the video from my boy Storm, my beautiful boy Storm, who I can't stop making out with. In this video, he compares Ifrit Skill 3 to Aphrissa Skill 3. When I saw this, I thought it was kinda weird, because raise your hand, how many of you have used Ifrit Skill 3 in the past 4 years? If I see more than 3 hands, some of you are lying, and liars go to hell. But, okay, fair enough, it's just a skill 3 comparison. You would think, in a situation like this, with the Chapter 14 shield enemies, which their whole gimmick is having insane defensive stats, Ifrit Skill 3 would perform better, because she's kind of the poster child for resistance debuffing, and as we can see, she does perform quite well, in fact. But then you go to Aphrissa and you can see she just fucking punches through the defensive stats like a fucking monkey. And it still beats out Ifrit anyway. This is because of Aphrissa's talent too. Operators in her attack range ignore 10 resistance. Of course, Aphrissa counts as being in Aphrissa's attack range. However, let me remind you, the refractors count as her range, which means this is actually a very versatile talent. So overall, if you were wondering, yes, Ifrit skill trees, which is a debuff skill, very handily loses to Aphrissa skill tree, which is the monkey brain DPS skill. Also keep in mind, thanks to talent 1, each repeater, they're called repeaters, not refractors, whoops, my bad. Each repeater gives a damage buff. So you have talent 1, which gives a plus 25%, or with the module, plus 35%. And you have skill 3, which for each repeater it deals additional damage and slows. But okay, no shit, Sherlock, that the DPS skill deals more damage than the debuff support skill. How does Ifrit measure up against really high resistance? As we can see in this other Storm video that I'm leeching off, when enemies reach the 90 resistance threshold, then that is the space in which Ifrit does perform considerably better than Aphrissa. But this is the only situation in which this happens. In other words, what does this mean? Let's think about squad slot value. For that squad slot, it is better to have Aphrissa there to damage and be a DPS or sub-DPS than it is to have Ifrit as a debuffer. You will kill shit faster with Aphrissa damaging rather than Ifrit debuffing, even if you have someone else like a skill 3 there. Of course, this changes in situations where there's enemies with 90 resistance or situations like CCB, ignoring the fact that CCB is moving towards damage reduction instead of high stats. Ifrit is still better for AFK as well, so if you want to use a straight line operator for your AFK, Ifrit is still superior. Keep in mind this is skill level 7, and skill 1 does have quite a bit of a buff from the M3, but as we can see in this footage, Aphrissa skill 1 is kinda struggling with these very basic enemies. Not just that, Aphrissa also has massive advantages of 1, not needing nasty, because Ifrit very much needs nasty, very much needs the nasty upscale, and as you can see here, being able to redirect her range at will. She's really versatile despite being a blastcaster. For example, we can see here, there's a golem. The golem is slowly exiting her range. You can just remove the repeater and point it a different way to keep chasing the golem. So, all in all, should you save for Aphrissa? Not particularly. She doesn't really read as a super broken operator. She's in the same space as Bellone or Zima Alter, where they are very comfortably good above average units. They are not bad by any stretch of the imagination, but there's better operators you should save for instead. For example, right after Aphrissa, we're gonna have the limited summer operator, which not only can you spark Hoshiguma Alter in that banner if you don't have her, if said Hoshiguma is anything to go by, we can expect that operator to be really strong. Because keep in mind, how release order works is that there's 2 banners in between each limited banner. So there's a limited, 2 banners, and then the next limited. Limited to mean celebration banners, not collabs. So right now, we had Kalalter, we had Closure, then we had Orchid, now we have Aphrissa, the next one is another limited celebration banner. However, let me bring up IS-7, because I couldn't help but notice that in a lot of IS-7 stages, there just so happen to be enemies lined up in a straight line formation without any ranged tile to catch them. We have this stage, we have this stage, arguably we have this stage as well. We have this stage, we have this stage with 4 chapter 16 bears, yeah, don't worry about that. We have this stage, which is fucking outrageous, look at this. We have this stage, which has the straight lines. And remember, these are just the stages we have seen in the 30 minutes gameplay showcase, it's not even all of them. Not just that, but they also buffed the caster hand, you know, the one that gives 2 SP on hit. It also includes blast casters now, and after 15 seconds they just double their attack stat. This is a buff because how it worked in IS-5 is it didn't include blastcasters, and it just increased the attack speed when you had the book, which, by the way, the fucking IS-7 hand also wants a book. This is actually a restoration, because this is how this hand worked in IS-4, IS-3 and IS-2, just without the attack buff. But they removed the blastcasters from IS-5 and IS-6. So, what's my final take? Aphrissa is a very good operator, but as with all non-limited operators, you would rather save for the limited, which is likely to be stronger, and also the next banner after Aphrissa. If you plan to play a shit-ton of IS-7, she might be a very good pickup, because it kind of seems catered to her somewhat. And that's all, max out your Gummy, bye. Hi, I am recording the outro in a different room, because in my room there's my 80-year-old mother sleeping, and I do not wish to disturb. Let me know what you know. Let me know what you think of the new format in the comments, because I am interested in knowing what you think. I'm trying something new. And thank you to the members, in particular Patanv, Nanneko, Mr. Ler, Ephraim, Mr. Lazy Lemon, Bar22X, Camille of Wishadel, Viper Sushi, Lozu, Neg PXL, Francisco Nunes, Sunlight Ira, Yuzu Ocha, Alclane, Noel Runes, Kindred 2, Lizard King, Ascended Azen, Nemotic, Sonomar Slink, Drano Chef, Gingy Sentuna, Ilio, Lvinchad, Clone Box, Davius, Bomb Ninja, Apolotia, QX102, Telemad Raptor, Seinshin Jaku, Never Far Off, Zephyrinix, Nupo, I Want Free Money, which is admittedly a strange name to buy a YouTube membership with, Borubarf, Bellicist1, Nebiko, Surfer7, Shirodezu, Prancing Peppers, Shaljor Vares, Bistum, Sam Kenshi, Kromala-chan, 5QDZK, Genius Geshipper, Common here, and Larmendra, Yovune, King of Harems, and a guy with 2 names. That's all, thank you all for watching and for the support, bye bye.